Welcome to Blue Talks.
Well, I want to lead with a question today. Have you ever faced a situation where doing the right thing could have come at a great personal or professional cost? I see some heads nodding. Well, it's really a privilege to be here on this stage at Cambridge University in the UK with this illustrious group of speakers. I do have a few key points that I want to share with you today that we'll talk about. How do we lead with integrity? What is your position of market dominance, and how can that process take you down the path of authentic leadership? So as I open up today, I want to share a story that's near and dear to my heart. It's my friend Vern. He was in a fast-growing startup, an IT services company, and he was growing, but it wasn't as fast as he thought it should be. So there was a company that came to him that he was introduced to, and this is a global major player. It might have 3 M's in its name. And they said to him, "We want to do business with you." And so they called an executive meeting, and he sat at that meeting with them, and he was really challenged because they were expecting him to deliver services that he wasn't yet able to deliver. He would be in the future, but at that moment, he wasn't able to deliver those services. The other thing, they said, "We need you to go globally with us." And he said at the time, "Well, we will be able to do that." Bottom line is Vern lived out his life of integrity and character, and he could have misled these executives into thinking he had all of these services available, but he didn't. However, he knew he would if he landed this agreement. So that's exactly how he presented it to this executive team. And the executive team of this global player was so impressed with his honesty, with his integrity, and with his character, they not only awarded him that $1 million agreement, over the next 3 years, they gave him 4 more multi-million-dollar agreements. That's what can happen in our business communities when we're leading with integrity. And I put together what I refer to as the ABCs of integrity and leadership. First is authenticity, the A. So what does it mean to be authentic? It can mean many different things to different people. What I like to really summarize this as, you have to trust yourself before you can trust anyone else. It's imperative. If you're going to be authentic, if you're going to have authenticity in the way you're leading your team, you have to be able to trust yourself. Because who's our own worst critic? The person in the mirror. So if you don't trust yourself, how can you even think about trusting anything else or anyone else? Second point is, the B is bravery. Being brave can mean different things to different people, certainly, but in the area of leadership of a team in the business world or in the nonprofit sector, being brave means when those tough decisions come to your desk, when they come to the forefront in you, it's imperative that you stand up for what is right. It's imperative that you take the time to reflect on some of the positives and the negatives that could come about. Because if you don't, you're going to maybe lack bravery in many ways. The third is C, is consistency. And being consistent as a leader, a couple of our great speakers have talked about this earlier during this event. It's important for us to build trust when we're a leader. It's important for our team members to really see how we are living our lives as leaders in a consistent manner. So what I like to refer to business leaders and say to them, I'll say, have you heard of the position of market dominance? And they'll say, I've never heard of that before. And I'll say, well, what is your position of market dominance? And they say, nobody's ever asked me that before. So what we have in our global coaching network is we actually have a boutique software that will help any business leader to work on 5 key areas of their business, and they're within those 5 areas, 22 strategies. But the first question I always start with is, are you familiar with the 80-20 rule? Are you familiar with the 80-20 rule? And I'll get, well, I think so, maybe, yeah, I think so. And I'll say to them, well, tell me what you mean. And some will get it right, some don't even get close. But here's what we use in our coaching network is 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of what you do on a day-to-day basis. Does that mean the other 80% of your time is wasted? Well, not completely, but you may be able to improve the way that you're investing that time into being better performers. And that comes through your leadership style. It comes through the integrity that's tied into that leadership of the organization. I mentioned the PMD a minute ago, your position of market dominance. What is that? It's difficult for anyone to really know how to pull that together until they've taken the time to actually sit down, maybe with a whiteboard, and really work on what differentiates us, what differentiates me from our competitors. Because it's when you make that provocative statement, that's when you get the attention of that person who's shopping. And too often when I ask the question, what's your position of market dominance? They come up with, well, we have the best service. Oh, we've been in business 28 years. Oh, we have the highest quality service. Here's what I have to say to that is, get rid of the jargon. Because too many people think blah, blah, blah. When they hear some of this jargon that many business leaders use. What we guide people to do is to come up with a message that offers a solution to the problem that person has that they don't want, but they don't know who they can trust. They don't know what sort of an expense it will be, and they don't know what the ROI is on that. So when you develop your position of market dominance, it needs to have a clear and compelling solution. In today's world, buyers usually have 8 to 10 touch points before making that decision to buy. So I mentioned the ABCs. People say, well, how do I implement that? Well, these are 3 areas that I can touch on real quickly that will help you to implement the ABCs that I just referred to. Number 1 is, are you taking time on a daily basis for self-reflection? I like to tout that in the morning, I have 2 to 5 things that are priority for me today. Are you doing that? Are you reviewing that list then at the end of the day to say, how effective was I? Did I do well? Could have I done better? This is where the whole 80-20 rule comes into play. It's also important to create accountability for yourself and your team. If you're leading a team, I love to use triads when I'm talking about accountability, because it's not that I want somebody poking at the other person or condemning them or bringing on any shame, but if you don't have a system of accountability across your network and for yourself, then it's difficult for you to see what's working, what's not in a meaningful way. Very often we think, well, I know what I'm doing. I don't need this sort of help. Well, guess what? Look at the 80-20 and track your own time and see how your performance is really doing. The third area, as far as implementation of the principles, is to lead by example. You need to model the behaviors that you want on your team in order for your team to be productive. Here's something I want to touch on real quick. Be careful what you believe. I know there's a lot of smart people watching this and listening to this. Be careful what you believe. Why? Because what's in the middle of believe? It's a lie. L-I-E. So be careful. Be a good judge of what you're believing. As I mentioned before, we have boutique software in our business coaching team where our ideal client is somewhere between $500,000 and $6 million a year in revenue. With our assessment tool, we're able to find on average $50,000 to $100,000. And then we develop and work with you to implement our 22 proven tactics to actually grow your business. People say, well, who's this work for? It won't work if you're not interested in putting in the time. It won't work if you don't have a clear understanding of what that problem is that you solve for those prospects that are out there. Here's a quick example of one of the clients that we've worked with for just over a year and a half now. First 12 months, this is a company that's been in business 32 years. First 12 months, we grew their revenue by 61%. Yes, I said 61% revenue growth. And that improved margins, that improved the overall valuation for this company. They really still, to this day, think we're rock stars. How's that? But it's not every company that will be able to implement that sort of strategy. However, here's the story of Lisa. Lisa was in a service business also, and she was really struggling. Business was growing, but she was really struggling because she lacked the cash flow. So she had an opportunity to go to talk to a loan officer. And her accountant said, okay, if you show the loan officer the balance sheet and the income statement, the P&L as it is today, you're not going to get the loan. And so just project it. Don't give them the actual, give them a projection. She said, no, I can't do that. She said this to herself. Went to the loan officer, said, here's what we're struggling with. It's cash flow. We have good margins. I've got projections that show we're going to be crazy successful. And guess what? The loan officer said, I respect your integrity. I respect your character. I'm going to make you that loan. The projections she was showing for 18 to 24 months, she accomplished in the first 12 months. So it's so important for us to understand what we have to do. First, trust yourself. And I just want to leave you with this. Come together in your communities to lead with integrity. So why? Why? So we can make a positive impact on all those around us. Thank you.